Hi, this is Barry Trailer, and today I'd like to welcome you to this episode of Sales Math, dealing with the impact of discounting. Now, to get started, share with you some data from our most recent study. We asked about 250 companies what their top 3 sales objectives were for their sales organization for the remainder of 2020. So the second half of 2020 and going into 2021, and no surprise, number 1 is capturing new accounts, and number 2, increasing existing share of wallet business with existing customers, and perennial favorite number 3, optimizing lead gen. So we then asked, what are the top 3 sales enablement priorities? And number 1 on the list here was optimizing our value messaging, which is the opposite of today's topic, which is discounting. We feel that selling value and avoiding discounting are the sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. And what we want to do today is show the impact of discounting to maybe even put more force and momentum behind this idea of optimizing value messaging. So let's jump into it. Here is a traditional manufacturing company, and when we look at their P&L, we see that they have 100 as their top line sales, cost of goods sold 60% of that, giving them a gross profit of 40, fixed manufacturing of 13%, G&A of 11, and here we see sales expense of 6, leaving a pre-tax profit of 10. Now, one of the things that we often say is you can't expense control your way out of a recession, and here's why we feel that way. If you look at this and say that they're going to reduce sales expense by 5%, all of these items remain the same, and it's just this sales expense item reduced by 5% that gives you 5.7, or a 3% increase in profits. So 5% gets you 3%, or a 0.6 multiplier. Okay, so it's not a very effective or a very long lever. It's not to say that you don't want to control expenses. It's just saying that it's not the longest lever you can reach for. Sales volume, same company, if they increase that by 5%, you can see this goes up to 105. Part of the cost of goods sold goes up, but everything else stays the same, and that drops 2 to the bottom line, or 20%. So this gets you a 4x multiplier. 5% increase in volume gets you 20% in profit increase. And the last one that we're going to look at here before we jump to discounting is if you increased price by 5%, the top line goes to 105, everything else remains the same in between, so that 5 drops directly to the bottom line, or a 50% increase. So 0.6 multiplier, a 4 times multiplier, or a 10x multiplier. Huge difference. Now, a lot of people say, come on, you can't just raise prices. Maybe you haven't heard there's a lot of price pressure, more informed, more demanding buyers, and so on. And the thing that we've always said is, okay, what's a way of raising price without raising price, without getting too clever about it? And the answer is to reduce discounting. And I think people sort of get that, but here's how we're going to make it more explicit today. Same exact model. If you discounted by 5%, so the 100 goes to 95 at the top line, and you follow that down, cost of goods sold is 60. So now our gross profit is 35, G&A and fixed manufacturing and sales expense all remain the same. So you have 5 pre-tax profit instead of 10. So you've reduced it by 50%. And if you do this at discounting at 10%, you've completely wiped out your profits. 100% of profits are wiped out with a 10% discount across the board. So it's not intuitively obvious, but what you may want to do is work through this model with your own company. Now, one of the areas we thought would be good to compare is maybe with a SaaS company today. In that case, the cost of goods sold is only 10%, but the sales expense can be much higher. We've estimated it at 40%, giving a pre-tax profit of 20 or 20%. Same exercise, if you look at reducing sales expense by 5%, this 40, since it's a much longer lever, given that it's a much higher sales expense, that 40 drops to 38 and drops 2 to the bottom line, or a 10% increase. So in this case, it's a 2 times multiplier. If you look at sales volume increase to 105, everything else remains constant. You're down here at pre-tax profit of 24.5, or 23% profit increase. That's a 4.5 multiplier. And if you increase price here 5%, everything else remains constant, it's 25%. So that's 5 gets you 25. So here you've got 2x, 4.5x, and 5x. Okay, and again, you may want to work through these numbers with your own firm, but let's look at the impact of discounting in this environment or with this model. Here, a 5% discount wipes out 1/4 of your profits, and a 10% discount wipes out half of all your profits. So take a look at this for your own company, work through the numbers, and hopefully that will give some momentum, some greater impetus to resisting discounting, even though, we understand it's a tough market. You're not going to expense control your way out. Increasing volume is great, but increasing volume without discounting is even better. If you have any questions or would like to comment, feel free. Always love hearing from you. We'll look forward to the next episode of Sales Math. Thanks for watching.